Hey, welcome back to the Relentless Positivity Podcast. Got another awesome guest here today, my friend Krys Davis out here with her. Look at that fancy hat game, by the way. Put my hat to shame over here. So her and her husband Sam are in Mansfield, Texas. A lot going on in Texas these days. We're going to hear about some of that. But they're fitness professionals down there, some of the coolest people I know. I want you guys to hear from them. So Krys, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to talk to you, one of the funniest and most positive people I've ever met.
Hey, we're supposed to have fun on this world, right? So I'm trying to make things fun. So first of all, let's talk about the fitness world. So how did you guys get into the fitness world?
So my husband is a collegiate athlete. He's a football player all his life through college. I met him his senior year of college. Long story short, we started a family. We both had what a lot of people would consider successful corporate careers. And he kept on telling me, hey, there's something else that I want to do. I want to run my own business. I don't want to work for anyone. And if you would help me figure out what path that is or opportunity that is, I'm really open to anything, and I'll know when I have the right thing. And my husband has never asked me for help. He's a Southern guy that can do it all on his own. So when I heard that call, I was like, I'm in. Like, that was my number one priority. And for a year, I searched relentlessly to find him an opportunity that would fit. I brought him a lot of things, and fitness was the thing that fit. And as soon as he started that business, he was successful almost immediately, thank goodness. And then I followed suit, and we've been working together ever since.
Cool. So what were you guys doing in the corporate world?
We were in sales, which
Okay.
to be honest with you, I am so happy that that happened. I mean, that's not what I went to college for. I mean, most people don't go to college for sales,
Yeah.
but I'm so happy that my career ended up taking me into sales, because sales really teaches you so much. And when you become an entrepreneur, you really, when you have been taught those skills, it is really such a great weapon in your arsenal to becoming an entrepreneur. And even like when I talk to young adults about their careers and they don't know what to do, I'm like, if you don't know what to do, that's fine. Because, we put a lot of pressure. You have a teenager.
Yeah.
A lot of schools, counselors, other adults put a lot of pressure on kids to figure out what they want to do now, which is ridiculous, as you know. And I always tell those young people that are getting out of college or in college, you don't have to choose it now, but you need to be working now, learning from other people now. And if you have an opportunity to get a sales position, it will lend itself to any career path you choose, I think.
Absolutely. I don't care what you're doing. You're in sales,
Mm-hmm.
you're selling something, whatever it is, so that's great advice. And you had a leg up. I had to learn that stuff. So that's excellent that you had that. That's no wonder you guys are so successful right off the bat. So tell me about running a business with your spouse. How does that work? And how do you guys kind of divide and conquer on that thing?
Well, I mean, we've learned through trial and error. That wasn't anything that was taught to us. It would have been nice, right?
Yeah.
And I still really have never heard to this day of any courses or clinics or seminars about how to run a business with your
Now
spouse, to be
y'all should
honest with
make
you.
one and sell it.
We've learned by making a ton of mistakes. It
Sure.
was not easy in the beginning. When we first started our first fitness company, we were stepping on each other's toes a lot. In fact, so much so that my husband, that's one reason why I started a leg of our business. We were running the same business parallel. I was running it in a different city, and he was running it in our home city, because he did not want me involved, because we were
Okay.
stepping on each other's toes that much. So I kind of did my own thing. He did his own thing, and it worked out. But then I would see areas that because we were running the same business, I would see areas where I was being really successful in one particular strategy or tactic. And I would, kind of mention it to him, and then he would kind of absorb it and then eventually apply it to his business, maybe not right away. And then the same thing, I would see something that he was doing really successfully in his location, and then I would passively absorb it and then apply that to my business. And so we gradually just kind of learn from each other. And instead of it being we're stepping on each other's toes, like we're a team. Nobody wants him to succeed more than I do, and vice versa, him for me. And so when we acknowledged that we weren't stepping on each other's toes, we were just trying to help each other, and we could kind of put that, ego that resides in all of us aside and listen, whether or not you took the advice or not, and listen to each other. It just started to work really well. And eventually, after many years of working together, we decided that one person would work on one part of the business, the other person would work on another part of the business, and we never crisscross.
Okay.
Well, very rarely. And that has been the biggest key to working together. He has his avenues, I have my lanes. You stay in your lane, I stay in my lane.
That's it. That's good, man. You had to figure that out though, right? So that's just something that
Yes.
communication, weird how communication is always the key, right?
Right. And that's implicit trust.
Yeah.
I know that what he does in our businesses, the parts, because we have a couple of different businesses, the parts that he handles in our businesses, I know he is the best man to do those things. So sometimes he asks my opinion, sometimes he doesn't, but I know whatever decision he makes, that there's no one better to make that decision. And he feels the same way about me. So now that we have that implicit trust, and that's proven, he's proven to be successful in those areas. I've proven to be successful in my areas, that I can just go on with it. And sometimes I ask his opinion and I don't like his opinion, and I say, I'm going to do what I want to do anyways. And he goes, fine. Because I know, because you're in your lane, you're going to do the best thing possible.
That's right. Power couple. Watch out. Making doing big things. So you guys have two beautiful girls. How do you guys kind of balance, like you said, several businesses, not just one, several, and y'all are running each in your different lanes. How do you get together raising the girls?
Joe, I mean, that's a that's a challenging question, because like that question, I would have answered that differently 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And so in the world that we live in now, this post-COVID world, I've completely thrown out anything about balancing running a business and being the perfect mom. I'm not going to lie to you. When I am fully engaged, full throttle in my business, I'm not 100% the best mom. And when I'm being the best mom, playing all the games all day and teaching all the lessons, because we're now homeschooling one of our children, and I'm the teacher, I'm not the advisor. I'm teaching the lesson.
Full on. You're
Right.
wow,
I was
yeah.
up last night learning the lesson so I could teach it to my daughter
Yeah.
today. No joke. And when I'm doing that, and then my husband, texts me and says, don't forget about your appointments today, or your calendars today, or, somebody sent us a DM, because I've checked out the past 2 or 3 days from business so that I can focus 100% on the mom responsibilities. I haven't found that it's effective to go back and forth. So I try my best when I can, and it's not always possible, to block off my time. So especially when the kids were younger, I would do like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, pretty much full days of work, and Tuesday, Thursday, no checking email, no answering my phone. It's whatever the girls needed. And if they needed something on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I mean, if, other than food, like if they're like, hey, can we go to the zoo? Can we go to the museum or something? It has to wait till Tuesday. Can we make a costume for pajama day, superhero day? It has to wait until Thursday. Everything can wait a day, and it really can.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop me from feeling really bad about it.
That's that mom guilt, man. That thing is undefeated over the years. I get it too. I mean, I was hoping you'd have the right answer, because I haven't figured it out yet. My son's 15, and I've been trying to figure it out. I'm like you though, so I'm all in, or I'm on business, or I'm working with him. He's a teenager now, so he doesn't want to hang out with me, so that made it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So you do have that to look forward to.
Yeah, but I mean, and this is the one thing I asked my husband about as well, the mom guilt versus the dad guilt. And I don't know. Tell us about that, Joe. Do you think, looking at your wife and your other colleagues in entrepreneurship, that dads and moms experience that same emotion, and that, or do you think they just express it or don't express it differently?
The moms definitely feel it more for sure.
Okay.
I mean, there's dads that'll be. I mean, I do feel bad that I miss him being little and all that, and we could hang out. Now he's 6'4", and I got to look up at him, and that's just not right. So it's just weird with that. But it's just I feel guilty when I can't. Like he's got something he needs help with, homework. I can't help him. He's beyond grades now. I can't. I get on the internet and I still can't help him. But you get that, you feel that. But then I'll be honest, I kind of shake it off because
Yeah.
I know I can't do anything.
Hmm.
But my wife feels it much more. She has more of a 9 to 5 type job, and when she's working and he's at home too, he needs help with homework, he needs help with that. She can help every now and then, but and then she feels terrible about it. I was like, well, this is a unique situation. Nobody has lived. There's no playbook for this. There's no pandemic. Everybody's at home, working from home, school from home
Yeah.
playbook. But she still feels guilty. So it's just, I think it's an innate thing because y'all carried them. You get the guilt with them too. So I think, and then guys for the most part are just kind of, they're one of those shrug it off type of deal. Get back to work. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
just kind of gender roles, I guess, of our history have been like that. I don't know what it is, but we do feel it. But I think the moms definitely feel it more.
Well, Joe, when you've been interviewed before, because I know you have, do people ask you about the balance of children and working at home, or balancing your home responsibilities?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
They ask me, and just it's like you said, it's different for everybody. Some
Yeah.
people, and it's people have different schedules, different ways they wake. Some people, hey, they just get up early. Like, you have early morning fitness classes. Those are usually the biggest classes because
Yeah.
the kids are still asleep. They're not an issue right now. Now you do have to get up early. There's that, but there's no doctor's appointments. There's no T-ball games. There's no soccer games, that type of stuff. So it's just kind of finding what works with your body. Maybe you're not an early morning person. Maybe you do it after the kids go to bed or something like that. And you talk about it to your clients too. You don't have to work out for 2 or 3 hours a day. Get in 10, 15 minutes here or there. Get it in where you can, So just work it out with your schedule. It's finding that balance, but it's not a balance though, right? If you've seen
It's
that.
not a balance. I gave that up looking for the balance. It's just not going to be. The scales are going to be tilted, right? And I in the moment am just going to try to be the best at what I'm doing in that moment. But I'm telling you, we've been entrepreneurs for like 15 years and it does not change. It doesn't, that feeling doesn't change of wanting to give more to each
Right.
side of my life.
I just try to be in the moment when I'm in the
Yeah.
moment, right? Rather than just because you know how it is. You can be drifting and think about, oh, I need to return that DM, or I need to, put that marketing piece out, or whatever it is, rather than playing Monopoly or shooting hoops or whatever you're doing with your kids. Just try to be in the moment, not whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes. At least you're fully focused on them, giving that time. So yeah, there's no balance. I don't think I don't think there's that.
Yeah.
Um, but
And
let's
I
let's talk
think
about
that's
your new venture. So you guys have been doing outdoor fitness for a while. That's something that I do as well. But now you're opening your own facility. So what does that look like, especially during COVID and all that good stuff? So what is that? How did you come to that decision, first of all?
well, sometimes I'm like, it's crazy that we decided to do that. Out of all the years that we could have done that, doing
Yeah,
it this year. As you know, and I'm sure your listeners do not know, we also own an event management company. And one of our biggest events is an endurance race, a fun run that is a national series. It's in over 10 states, over 2 dozen cities. And that came to an abrupt halt after March 7th of last year. That was the last
sure.
time we had an event. And after I got out of my like 2 week depression, where I'm literally like on the floor, like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah,
How are we gonna survive? Um, how can we take care of our customers? All of it. I started thinking to myself a question that I started to really ask myself the last year and a half prior to COVID. And I'm really glad I started to do some of that work on myself prior to COVID, because I don't know what type of mess of a person I would have been if I hadn't started doing some self work on my mindset, how I think about things, how I execute things. And one of those questions that I started to ask myself prior to COVID, the last year and a half, like in 2019, 2018, is if you had to start anything from scratch. So even while I'm in my business, I'm doing my fun run series, right? I'm like, oh, I think I should change the way the t-shirt looks. Maybe we should stop doing t-shirts. And I'm just giving a wild example here. Maybe we should start doing hats instead of t-shirts. Like, another part of me goes, well, we have a 60-70% retention rate, which is crazy huge in the endurance race industry, that your customers keep coming back race after race after race. Those longtime participants that have done 7, 8, 10, 12 events are going to be really ticked off that they're not getting that shirt each time. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to change it because I don't want to tick them off. One thing I started to think about in every part of my business is, if I had to start this business from scratch, would I do things the same way? If the answer is no, then I scratch it. I don't care if I'm in the middle of it. I don't care if I'm 5 years in deep. I scratch it and start it the way that it should have been started, knowing what I know now, right? Hindsight being 2020. You've been in this business a really long time. There's a bunch of stuff you would have done differently.
Oh man, tons of it.
Right. And so previously I was hesitant to make those changes because I'm like, I've been doing it this way for 5 years, Yeah. And I started to rethink everything, change it to make everything better. And so after I got out of this COVID funk, that question came back to me. If this business is scratch, which we don't believe that it will be, but we didn't know when it was coming back.
Right.
First, they said it would be back in 2 weeks. Then they told us by the end of spring. Then they told us by the summer, then the fall, then next year. Right. So after the everything that people are telling us is wrong, I started to think, if this never came back, what business would I start? What would I want to do from scratch? And I actually couldn't answer the question, to be perfectly honest with you. But I started to also ask that question of my husband, because I was just curious also. I couldn't even answer it because I've been so fixated on doing these things that I've already been doing for so many years. And I started to ask him, and he didn't know in the beginning. And he started to think about it. And a few weeks later, he said, well, I guess if we had to start all over again, which we're not going to, was always the caveat, I would open up a fitness studio, which we've been approached about for years, as have you, I'm sure.
Sure, yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times we've been approached to open up a gym, whether it be from our customers or from potential business partners. And we just didn't think that was the right place for us. And so when he started to tell me that, and then I'm like, okay, what would it look like? What would you think? Like, how would you do it? It started to kind of take on its own life. And at some point in this pandemic, my husband was like, yeah, this is what I want to do, because when our other side of our business comes back, the endurance race series, which we still manage, we have, we hope to rehire our old employees back. He's like, we can still run these two businesses simultaneously. And so let's get started on it now while we have a break, because we're literally doing nothing except watching the news and panicking.
Sounds familiar.
Let's go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
And it's also something that brings us great joy. Let's go ahead and do this and get this set up running smoothly, so that when the government gives us the opportunity to reopen our events across the nation, that this is already started moving before that happens. And so that's how it came about.
So what's that process been like? What is it like starting a gym in the middle of a pandemic? I mean, is it hard to find people to work on it? I know there's a lot of construction going on all over the place during the country. So has that been hard? Have you done a lot of it yourself?
Yeah. Well, we started a lot of that ourselves. So first, and this really reading your book, I kind of like, I haven't read the whole thing, but I've read some of it, see some of the things that kind of happen in your life. They're like weird, but
I'm a weird magnet. Weird things happen to me.
no, but then when you look at it, you're like, oh, now I see
Right.
that this is a catalyst for X,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But you don't know it while you're in the moment. And so my husband decided to do that. He started to look for buildings on his own. And he found a building and we're all in. Okay, let's sign the lease, get the paperwork, get the permits. And then after that point, everything goes wrong. Every single thing goes wrong.
Of
And then
course.
we find out like we cannot rent this building. And so that did not happen. And thank goodness, because then our residential realtor, my husband was so busy trying to finish that part up. I said, hey, can you kind of help out? I mean, who wouldn't love the commission from that? And she was like, yeah, I don't do a lot of business stuff, but I'll do it. And then she had the person in the next office building to her had become a friend of hers that owned a commercial property that he wanted to lease or sell. And she said, well, why don't you go take a look at that? It ended up being the perfect property. And so like it was a nightmare dealing with this other place. But now that we look at it, it's like great because it put us in the perfect timing to see this other property, which we wouldn't have been able to see had we not had that waste of time.
That's right. Hey, when you're ready, it'll pop up, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
the
And
way it
that's what
works.
COVID and just life in general is teaching us a lot of. Sometimes we get so impatient and we're trying to force things, right? And then like if you're operating in a place of knowing and knowing what's right for you and being confident what's right for you and knowing what you deserve, eventually the right thing will pop up if you know those things and if you're patient.
Sure.
Because we could have rammed that contract in with the other one, but we would just had headaches and we were like, you know what, we're worth more than that and our customers are worth more than that. We're not going to put ourselves in that situation just to have something right now.
Right.
And we found a great building, needed a lot of work, and my husband, secretly being handy, not telling anyone, was like, you know, I think I could do most of this by myself, might hire a few contractors and stuff like that. And so he started doing some of the work, hiring the contracts, and these people started to fall through, like make appointments, not show up,
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over. And now we're like, okay, but we had a little bit of experience with it because we had just finished building our first, well, not our first home, but we built a home for the first time just a few months before. And so we were like, okay, this is not crazy because we had that experience with
Yeah.
contractors with the residential. We didn't know it would be the same for business. And so then we have this like network of friends and family, or what's now become friends and family, from running our fitness programs for the last 15 years, 12 years, whatever. And those people, we are kind of letting the cat out of the bag secretly to a couple of people that we were working on a gym. And then someone would be like, oh, my husband was laid off last year. He's a contractor. He'd love to help. He has nothing to do. And they would just come help.
Wow.
Another one of our customers found out that we were doing it, and we had an electrician that we were working with. He stopped showing up. And then he just kind of overheard the conversation and he was like, I'm an electrician. I'll come help out on this one project. He ended up getting laid off and then he stayed on to finish the whole project. So basically, I could tell you a whole bunch of stories like this, but what brought everything together with finishing out that building were our clients and customers that have become friends and family over the past dozen years, to help bring that project, that construction project, to the vision that we had in our head.
That's awesome. So
It
that kind of
is.
goes into my next question that I follow you guys. You guys are great about building community. That's something that paid off with that as well. So how do you guys do that? I know your new gym's going to be called Fit Tribe. So you guys are good about building that tribe. What do you guys do to build that community? What have you done to kind of get that going?
Well, that's why we came up with that name. We have been thinking about the name for a really long time. I mean, I would ask my husband every night before we went to sleep, like, do you come up with a name yet? He's like, stop asking me. Like, there was a lot of pressure. And then one day he goes, Fit Tribe, and light bulb, like, because that's what we're all about,
Right.
Joe.
Yeah.
The reason I think why we've been able to build community, and I can confidently say that, Joe, and I'm really proud of that. And we were talking before the call, and I was telling you that my parents were in the military.
Mm-hmm.
So the place that I live now is the longest I've lived anywhere in my life. And I've lived here for 14, 15 years. I've never lived anywhere longer than like 8 or 9 years in my life.
Wow.
And so when I say that I'm so proud of what we built here in this community, it's because it means so much to me personally. I've never had roots in a community. The fact that my kids can, go to school. When my daughter, we went to her kindergarten roundup a few years ago, and the principal was one of our clients. I had no idea. The person that's the mayor of the biggest city next to our home was one of our clients. you know there's just, it comes from a place of authenticity.
Yeah.
We were really building real relationships. My husband, we're having a winter storm in Texas. We were seeing all these things happening to our community, and we were reaching out to some of our friends, like individually. And then my husband, eventually, he's not going to want me to tell the story because he hates when I brag on him. But it's not just because I am bragging on him; it's because he really inspires me. So he sent out a text to all of our clients that have done any of our fitness events, which have been smaller over the past year with exercise. And he said, if any of you guys need anything, we're event directors. We used to travel the country, basically building small towns and festivals in cities across the nation. So we have generators, we have super long extension cords. He's like, this is what I have, and I'll give it all away. Who needs it? And within 3 minutes, like, his phone was flooded with people in our community, our friends and our family that were our clients, that needed electricity, that needed firewood, because they had been without electricity or heat, and for some of them, water, for days.
Wow.
Here in Texas. And then he sent another text message out explaining to them, like, some of you guys might not have electricity, but you have wood and a fire. Some of you guys don't have anything. So let's work together to prioritize who needs this. And it was even more interesting, people coming back in and said, you know what, I don't need the generator because I do have a wood burning fireplace and I do have water. So you go take the generator to the person that doesn't have a fireplace, that lives on a hill, that can't get out, that is older, alone, no kids, no family, and them come together to prioritize who needed the stuff. And my husband spent the whole day 2 or 3 days ago going out and doing that. The reason why I'm giving that example, Joe, is because we're having an emergency in Texas right now, but that's who he is every single day.
Right.
So when our clients come in for a workout, like, how are you doing? He's not just saying the words, how are you doing? He really wants to know. One of the generators that he brought to was the elderly parents of one of our clients who he's met. The parents are not our clients, but he's met those parents 6, 7 times over the last several years, because we want our customers to bring in their family. We have parties, we have events, and we want them to know that we view them much more as, our clients. So you're part of the tribe. And one of my clients once said something to me. She goes, I know I just got to know you guys in this, 4-week boot camp, but I feel like if I called any of you and needed something, none of you would hesitate to be there for me. And I wouldn't hesitate to be there for you. And it's just the vibe that we genuinely give people. And when they see that we genuinely care, they give it right back to us. So much more. so much more. Did that
Man,
answer your question?
shout out to Sam. What a good man. I got goosebumps when you were telling that story. That was awesome.
Yeah.
See, we need more people like Sam in the world, don't we?
We really do. He's
That's right.
amazing.
He's gonna be so embarrassed, isn't he?
Oh my gosh, he's gonna be like, why did you tell that story?
Oh, because people need to hear about that. They need good news. That's what this show is all about. So we need good news with good people like Sam out there. So kind of shifting gears a little bit. So what's been one of your biggest failures and what did you learn from it?
So many.
So me too. Man, I could do a whole show on that.
So many failures. One failure is growing too fast. Which you wouldn't think there is a such thing, right?
That sure does happen though.
With our fitness boot camp program was our first business. We expanded probably to like 5 or 6 different cities within the first 2 years. We're very successful. Yes, did we have trainers rotate in and out? Sure, but no problem, very successful. When we started our event production company, we did 3 different events over the course of maybe like 6, 7, 8, 9 months. One of those events exploded. And people were, once the first event happened here, people from all over the country were emailing us, calling us, how can I get this in my city? So we're like, let's take it on the road. And then we immediately had people, like we would be at the event, and I remember the first time we did an event in Midland, Texas, and there was a couple that came to us and they were like, how can we start this business somewhere? And we were like, you know, that's a good idea. We've been thinking about expanding, but we didn't with them. We didn't know them. And then someone my husband knew personally reached out to him and said that he wanted to expand. And I didn't think it was the best match, but we really wanted to grow. And like anything, when people see something that's being wildly successful, they think you're overnight success. They think it's easy. So sure enough, you're going to have copycats.
Sure.
And so we were like, let's get a foothold everywhere, which is like a dumb idea because you can't be everywhere. But let's get a foothold in as many cities as possible, as quickly as possible. So when the imitators come, we've already established our name and our brand there. And so we were like, it's not the perfect match, but we can fix that. And we did that with several people. A few of those people ended up being horrible matches. And I take full responsibility for that because it damaged our brand in those areas. Because when we were talking earlier, we were talking about authenticity and also really wanting to take care of your customers. And sometimes in business, people just get into business for the money.
Sure.
Or just for the title, like they think being an entrepreneur is cool. It's tough, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
And, it wasn't the right fit for them. And because it wasn't the right fit for them, they didn't give the business, the event, as much care and attention as the customers deserved. And it ended up damaging our reputation. And it took us years to rebuild our reputation in those cities. Thankfully, we had great reputations in other places that would kind of vet for us. But nothing is worth the good name that you've built.
Sure.
Nothing. You
Absolutely.
can never, well, I can't say never, but it's very difficult to get your reputation back. And if anybody's going to ruin my reputation, it's going to be me.
Yeah.
It's not going to be somebody else. So in that failure of wanting to grow quickly and not really like going with my gut, like this is not the perfect fit. Let's just wait. Like we were talking about with the building, let's just wait until we get the right fit. We rammed that through and it ended up hurting the brand, and it cost a lot of money to get rid of those people because we refused to let them treat the customers that way. And then after that, we scaled back to make sure everybody that was in the bubble, the Wake and Wine Run bubble of running events, were people that truly, truly cared about the runners, about the athletes, about the customers, about the venues, about the vendors, because it all works synergistically
Yeah,
together.
absolutely.
If you're at someone else's property, if you don't take care of it as good as you would your own property, that's going to ruin your reputation too. And your vendors, you know, if you have a national sponsorship and you have one location that's not treating them very well or not giving them the deliverables that were promised, that's going to damage your reputation with that company and maybe their connections other places. And so everything has a ripple effect, and that's why it is really important to be patient with any growth that you do, any partnerships, whether those are business partnerships or business to business partnerships. And that's something that I wouldn't have learned as quickly. I always say the worse the lesson, the faster I learn it,
Oh,
and I will
absolutely.
never repeat it again.
Yeah, all that time and money. You remember that? Oof, I can think back right now. Some things I did is like never again. You learn that once. Some of those just got to learn once. But so
Yeah.
you've been in this game for a long time. What keeps you inspired? What's inspiring you these days?
Um, my kids, obviously. I have two amazing girls, and I am being an entrepreneur. There are some hurdles and obstacles that I've encountered that running our businesses side by side with my husband, he hasn't encountered those things. And so he has had some gender privilege that I haven't been afforded in some areas, or even some ways that I would second guess myself, or ways that I have to change as a woman. And my daughters really inspire me to change that and do what I need to do so that it'll be different for them. So, for example, if that doesn't make sense to you,
It makes sense, but I want to
um,
hear your example.
yeah. Uh, like when we are doing an event and I have a whole new team of volunteers, maybe I have a local staff because we're going to Chicago. So we might fly some of our Texas staff out, but the event in Chicago is thousands and thousands of people. So we can't just do it with our 6 Texas people. So we hire a local staff of maybe like another 8 to 10 people. Then we have a big volunteer organization of 20 or 30 people. I can go, I should rephrase it. My husband can go to these people at any point of time and say, go do this, you be here at there. I'm going to pick you up at this time. I need you guys to do it fast. I don't want to hear anything else about it. Ready, break. And they're like, sounds good. I can go say those same things with the same tone, same exact words. It's completely interpreted differently from me. Like, that lady is really bossy. Like, what's up her butt? What'd she eat for breakfast? You know? And I would, the first couple of years, because I would see people, I'm like, oh, wow, that was a lot. And it's no different from anything my husband would take. And I'm smart enough to know that I'm not being mean or bossy or anything. I'm just giving directives. So I would preface like, hey, this is a really fast moving environment. So, hi, my name is Krys. I love puppies. I love to bake cookies. I have 2 kids. And, you know, like, here's a little about me. See how soft and sweet I am? I'm going to give you directions today. Because this event is so fast moving, the directions are going to be very fast and direct. And so you might not hear about the puppies or please or thanks, or I might forget your name. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be bossy, but there's just a limited time for me to give out my instructions. And so it might be pretty direct. But at the end of the night, let's all hug and kiss. And I'm going to give you guys my fresh baked cookies. Like, I would have to say that. And then they would be okay with everything I said from that point on. My husband has never had to do that, ever in life.
He's buff and tattooed though. Maybe you should get more tattoos. See if that works.
Maybe like right here.
Yeah, get some throat tattoos. You're in. They listen to. Oh, your teardrop. Get the teardrop. And you no, I mean, I've heard that from other female entrepreneurs. The same deal, that you can come in the same environment, say the same things, and get a different. You get pushback where everyone else just scatters and goes get to work when the other dude says it.
Yeah. I've had men tell my husband that I hurt their feelings.
Man, come on, who are these dudes?
Well, they're tough dudes. And my husband could say the same thing to them, but they're like, that lady came and talking down to me because I would dare give them a directive. Mm. And so I used to tone that down. I no longer do that.
You turn it up? Turn it up a little bit?
I'm turning it all the way up.
Turn it up.
Because look, you're just going to have to get used to it, Joe.
Hey, I'm used, man. I'm around women all day. I'm used to taking directives.
Yes. Or Tom or whoever you are. Get used to it now. Figure it out. You're okay. Everything will be fine. And even, Karen and Julie, y'all get used to it too.
Hey, I like how you use Karen, by the way.
Because women sometimes take that offensively too from another woman. They wouldn't take it the same way from a man. My husband and I have had this conversation many times before in our fitness instruction. I would go out to his fitness class or camp, and then after the class, I'm like, I can never say that to those ladies. And he's like, why? And I'm like, they feel it differently coming from a woman,
Yeah.
I mean, but there's things that he can't talk about he doesn't feel comfortable talking about, like sports bras and, wedgie-proof underwear.
Hey, man, I've walked away from so many conversations. I just keep it moving.
Right. But that has something to do with comfort level, right? It doesn't have to do something with gender dynamics. And so for me, what inspires me is seeing my girls, and I can't control everything that's happening in the world. I can only control my little circle, my little neighborhood, my little environment, and what they see. And so when they see this interview, when they see the last panel that I spoke to, my oldest daughter has been and seen me talk at events, and I'm a very different person than I am at home. She can see that, and she doesn't have to dim herself down. She doesn't have to shrink.
Right.
Because she's seen another woman that, it's not I'm soft and bold. No, I'm just bold. I don't have to tell you that I'm soft too. I don't have to reason for that. I'm a leader.
Right.
I'm bold. I take risks. And I don't want my kids to ever feel like they can't because of their gender.
Well, that's awesome.
Mildly.
Yeah. Well, they're seeing that in action every day. So I can't imagine them in 20 years, what they might be doing. They could do anything, right?
Man, I mean, if you met my daughter, Joe, I really feel that way. I feel like they really can do anything. And I definitely don't ever want to be the person that stands in their way. I want to be the person that's clearing the road and pushing them when they need it, cheering them on when they need it. And I've seen through social media what an amazing dad you are. So I know that you totally identify with all the magic you've seen your son too.
Yeah, you're a combination of the two, right? My wife's super amazing. Thank goodness. I'm down here and she's up here. So we got a pretty good one right in the middle. So she brings us way up, brings the average way up. So that's very important. So what are you curious about right now? I know you do a lot of deep thinking. What are you curious about right now?
So I am curious about how I can impact the world more. Mm-hmm. And I don't always just mean that on a big level. Like I mentioned before, sometimes maybe just my small bubble world. And so I've really been trying to find ways that I can reach out besides my normal comfort levels. Like we've done charity fitness events where, all the money is donated to, that's kind of in our wheelhouse. I could do that in my sleep. I can do a virtual race, raise a lot of money, but how can I personally, me, and this is another thing I want my daughters to see, impact the world. And so I'm just trying to find things, whether it be local politics. I don't want to run for politics at all.
Yeah, I can see you in the future. I don't say no, never say never. You never say never.
But people that I believe in, mm-hmm. how I can help them, or roles that I can play in people that are in need. People I'm very passionate about people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And in Texas, especially over COVID. They have been losing everything. Their funds have been cut. Their social interactions are not happening anymore because all the facilities, all the classes that they could have to get out of their house so that it could be around other peers that have intellectual disabilities, other people that understand them, get them, and give some respite to their parents or caregivers. Those are all shut down.
Oh man.
And there is no end in sight. And it makes me really sad. And so I'm very curious about what I can do to move the ball forward faster because, you know, we can all go out and vote. And I've been doing that, but that's not enough for me any longer. Now that I'm getting older, I feel very passionate about my legacy. And I want my legacy to be more than, you know, I have an alcohol themed race around the country. You know what I mean? I want, when I'm not here anymore, I want my kids to know like all the little things I did to move the ball down the field.
Man, I'm telling you, you sound like a politician, like a good one. I'm telling you,
But
I'd vote for you. I don't know what you're running for, maybe coroner or whatever you're running for. I'm gonna vote for you.
did you say coroner?
Yeah, you know, my wife tried to get me to run for coroner. You don't have to have like a funeral home or anything. You just be a coroner if you want. No medical degree or nothing. You can just run and be a coroner. But anyway, I'll vote for you as coroner when you run. But so you mentioned adults with intellectual disabilities, and your brother Gary is one of those people. That's why you bring your passion. What is something you've learned from Gary over the years?
Not gonna cry, Joe.
Okay, yeah. I could let me know. I'll pause it.
My brother has really taught me a lot. This this the empathy that I have for people in the community when I see people that have disabilities, and the way that I interact with them is second nature to me because my brother is disabled, and I know how it would feel for me as a sibling when we go to the store and people would stare at him, or when he tries to talk and people look scared. And you know, with his limited communication, how it would make him feel. Like he doesn't even have to say anything, I know how it makes him feel, right? So
Yeah.
when I see someone with an intellectual disability, you know, when someone's different, like if they're wearing a cute hat like you, or if they're, you know, 9 years old and 6'4" like your son, you know, you look, because it's
Yeah,
different, right?
right.
And so that's natural. But like I would always be like, hi, or what's your name, so that you don't appear just to be staring, you're actually engaging with that person. And so that's something that I do automatically. And then my daughters know how to do that interaction because something that they've learned naturally is nothing that was taught to us. They've learned it naturally. But I see them teaching their friends.
Yeah.
But that's not a lesson that I taught them. My brother taught that to me. I taught that to my kids. My kids are teaching it to their friends. So that's one way in which he inspired me. And I know that doesn't seem big, but there are a lot of people with disabilities, intellectual and developmental disabilities in our community that, you know, aren't having the best experiences when they go out to church, when they go to the grocery store, when they go off to the post office. So the fact that my daughter will wave and go up with no hesitation and say, what's your name? You know, is making a difference in that person's life too. And so I feel like it's a little ripple, like butterfly effect of what he's teaching me. He likes what he doesn't like, and he doesn't like what he doesn't like.
Yeah.
So he loves The Price is Right. He can watch it
We
all
all
day.
love that.
Yeah. He loves the Maury Povich show. So you could just call him on the phone and say, Gary, who's the father? Or you are the father. He will bust out laughing. It doesn't matter if you call him during a snowstorm, 2 a.m, on a Saturday, whatever, he's gonna laugh. And he doesn't like what he doesn't like. Hey, Gary, try, you know, this caviar. He's like, hell no, I know.
Not my
Give
thing.
me a Pepsi and a cheeseburger.
There you go.
You know, and this is very small, but you know, there are certain times when we try to acquiesce someone else, you know, and it's like not something we want to do. or not something that we like. And I'm not saying like, hey, don't be adventurous or don't be flexible. There are many times that I've done something that I don't feel comfortable doing, that I don't like doing. And like Gary is living his best life that he could live, given his disabilities, because he does what he wants and he doesn't do what he doesn't want. And there's a lot of power in that,
Sure.
right? How many, it's going back to the woman thing, how many times have women have just been told to go along, just be polite? And so if you say, hey, Krys, do you want a cheeseburger? I'm like, hell no, I'm not eating that cheese. And I don't feel bad about it. I don't
Yeah.
want to. Why? I don't want to. I don't owe you any excuse. Gary would be like, I stop
I'll take
asking
it.
dumb
Yeah, give me 2
questions.
cheeseburgers. Yeah, he'll take it. Yes, I mean
Right?
there's
So,
power in finding out who you are and who you're going to be, not what you're trying to please somebody about. So that's we could
yeah.
all learn that from Gary.
Yes. And yeah, he's just amazing. And the things that he teaches me about patience, sometimes Gary will call me 6, 7 times in an hour. And every time I'm like, hey, brother, what's up? He's like, it's snowing. I'm like, yeah, buddy, I'm just 5 minutes. Yep. We talked about snowing 5 minutes ago. I'm right down the street. Luckily, my mom retired and moved down here. My brother is my older brother. So he's like 11 years older than me. But sometimes we have the same conversation over and over and over again throughout the day. And that's okay. So he's taught me a lot of patience.
Yeah. Well,
And he's taught me a lot of gratitude. I will not lie. I felt sorry for myself many a time this year. And then sometimes I get a call. I can't answer the call. Gary's called 5 times every 5 minutes. And I finally like, hey, are you good? I was just trying to work. And he's like, man, I was watching Price is Right and somebody won the showcase showdown. And he's like laughing. He's so happy.
yeah.
And here I was like ticked off that my internet's been down for an hour, and like wanting to punch a hole in the wall. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
So he's just a good reminder about gratitude and patience and everything wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, you light up when you talk about him. That's why I wanted to bring him up, because you light up when you talk about him. So you kind of mentioned cheeseburgers earlier, that you're not a fan of the cheese. You eat the vegan lifestyle. So because I follow your Facebook, your pictures look amazing. What's your favorite dish you make? Your vegan dish?
So I have to be honest with you, Joe. I am not a great cook. I am a great assembler.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's
So,
cooking in my house. If you put something together, that's cooking.
right?
Yeah.
So I don't do anything that involves any sort of science. So if it's like, hey, this might cause it to rise or flatten, or you need this as a thickener, I'm like, I'm out. I don't.
I don't know what that stuff is either.
You're right. So there's a couple of things. I like there's a black bean burger recipe, not my own. It's from skinnytaste.com. It's not a vegan recipe because it has an egg in it, but you can replace the egg with applesauce or banana, which I wouldn't do the banana actually, or flaxseed egg, which just is egg and water, flaxseed and water, soaked together so that it makes kind of a gooey consistency of an egg. But that black bean burger is the best black bean burger I've tasted at any sort of restaurant, anytime. I love making like mushroom and spinach and black bean enchilada. And I don't make my own tortillas. So I assemble the can of black beans and I assemble the pre-rinsed carton of spinach and maybe like some frozen sweet potatoes that I roasted in the oven. And then there's a great red enchilada sauce from Frontera that you can get at most grocery stores. But yeah, so I love my enchiladas, and I love my black bean recipe. And also my buffalo cauliflower recipe is really good. Primal Kitchen has a great vegan buffalo sauce, which is amazing. Now my husband does make stuff from scratch. He has the absolute best vegan, like nacho or macaroni cheese, like liquid cheese that he makes out of cashews.
Wow.
And everybody that we give that to, vegans, omnivores, they love it.
Yeah, so it all looks good. So I don't care if you assemble it, you're making it, it all looks good. And that's what matters, right? So Fit Tribe is the name of the gym. When do you guys have an official launch date with all this going on with the snowstorms and everything?
Yeah. And Joe, I do want to apologize. The phone has rang a couple of times because we are having a winter storm. I have my um, ringer on just for my favorites, which are my mom, my dad, my kids, because my mom, if she loses electricity, I want to know ASAP so that we
Right.
can
Yeah.
secure. My husband's actually helping someone out on these dangerous roads right now. So if he calls, I want to be able to help him. So I apologize for
Oh,
that. I can't
this is not a professional show. You're okay.
um, so the grand opening date, we actually pushed it back 2 weeks, a few weeks ago. So the grand opening date would have been happening last Saturday
Oh, wow.
when the snowstorm started. So we're so happy that we pushed it back. But it's going to be happening on the 27th of February.
Okay.
And pre-COVID, I mean, champagne, sushi, food trucks, DJ. We love to do it up. And any of our former clients, we have parties all the time for our customers and clients. So we would have really went all out for the grand opening. So I think the grand opening is not a traditional grand opening. It's an invitation only grand opening. So you have to request an invite because we can't put 100 people in the building at the same time.
Right.
So we got to get an invitation. We have 10 spots per hour. So if 200 people want to come to the grand opening, it'll be the first 10 in those hours. So they're going to have to get on our Facebook page and send us a DM and ask for an invite if they want to do or be a part of the grand opening. And the grand opening, we're excited to show off the building. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about what we were able to do in this building and what we're bringing to the community. By the way, we believe, we haven't found any evidence, and we've been researching that we are the only standalone fitness facility owned by people of color, by Black people at least, in our city. And so
Really?
that's something that we're really
Awesome.
proud of for the rest of our entire community, not just the Black people in our community, but our entire community, that they not only have a really unique studio. We're offering our signature Fit Tribe Camp. We're doing personal training. We're doing sports performance for student athletes. There's even a co-working office so that several people, one person, 3 or 4 people can come in before or after their class and work, or students do a little bit of their virtual school or their homework while they're waiting for their class to start or waiting for it to end. Or for our customers, like you said, it's hard to have that balance,
Sure.
especially with a lot of us working from home now, and you have all the distractions and you're trying not to think about it. So maybe leaving the house for a couple of hours to get some work done away from the house, away from the dishes in the sink.
It's helpful. I go to a coffee shop every now and then. My internet works fine, but just getting out of the house and working, that'd be a great spot. That's cool.
Well, that's why I wanted to have it. My husband was like, we have an extra room. We could do this, this, and this with it. I was like, co-working spot. It's like, for you?
Well, that's
no,
cool.
people,
That's going to be awesome.
this, and you don't always want to go to a coffee shop, especially in these times.
Sure.
But if you already know that you're going to be going to the gym, right? You've got to get your workout on. Then to go and spend an hour or 2 earlier or later and get some uninterrupted work done because your dogs aren't around or something like that, I think is highly beneficial. And then once I gave that idea to my husband, he started to think about it. He really loved the idea. We finished it out and it's going to be awesome. We'll have juices and ready to go protein shakes. So that is kind of like a one-stop shop. You don't need to go to Starbucks. I love Starbucks, by the way. You don't need to stop at a drive-through because we all know that we have clients that will go to a workout and then stop at a drive-through on the way to wherever they're going because they're hungry and they haven't prepared to eat. And so they end up screwing up the results from the whole workout. And so we'll have healthy snacks and meal replacements so that everything that our customers need is right there for them to maximize their workout.
Oh man, I'm excited because y'all are gonna be changing some lives over there. Like we talked earlier, if you need to be a part of a community, if you want to get in the greatest shape of your life, you go check them out, Fit Tribe. I'll link all of your website and your Facebook page. You can keep up with their progress. Be ready for the grand opening. And Chris, appreciate what y'all are doing. Y'all are out there changing lives. And I just love what you guys do.
I love what you do, and I'm so excited that I've had the opportunity. We never would have met, I don't think, had we not been doing similar businesses in the different parts of the country. And I honestly, even though we don't get an opportunity to see each other ever,
Right.
I honestly have had so much joy over the years seeing what you do. You're a great inspiration to me and to Sam. You make us laugh out loud. And sometimes you even make us really emotional because you are equally thoughtful and kind as you are funny and engaging. And it's been a privilege to get to know you over the years.
Hey, the same, man. I appreciate it. I get inspiration from you guys. Can't wait to see where you guys take this thing.
Awesome.
All right. Well, you have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.